Hello everyone, my name is Mark Redgrave, also known as Marky9029. In this video we'll cover my thoughts on the Wuthering Waves 2.5 update. I've had a lot of time to not only digest the story, but also my own thoughts and feelings. However, I also had to figure out how to write this script since I don't want people to get the wrong idea about what my thoughts are. I've also put this off for a while and I've gotten distracted while writing this, so this took a lot longer than I originally wanted. For starters, the 2.6 update is this week that I'm recording, so hopefully I'll be able to upload it before then. We'll see. Anyways, as a disclaimer, everything portrayed and said are purely my own thoughts, and I would encourage you to make your own thoughts based on what information is available, rather than letting others form it for you. If it comes off as if I'm stating my opinion as a fact, understand that I don't intend for it to appear that way. Now before I find myself ranting about morality, individuality, and free will, let's get started with my overall thoughts. I'll follow up with more in-depth thoughts on what happened with Phrolova and what occurred. I won't be showing anything important on screen, just b-roll of Rua, like things of me flying through, exploring, etc. So feel free to tab out and listen to it in the background. Overall, I enjoyed 2.5's story and update. It showed the sinister side of the Order as a result of the influence of Leviathan corrupting and forcing people within to do things they usually wouldn't. We saw this with Fenrico, as well as some documents found with records about him before the final confrontation at the end of the quest. The new area is also interesting as an industrial area where it seems there have been experiments going on involving the creation of echoes from tacit discords. It also shows the dark implications for the echoes of Raguna, considering that they are using frequencies from echoes and TDs to make them. It was also an interesting experience seeing the falling out between the Fractsidus and the Order when we find Phrolova. The Order was very much on a witch hunt to find her, and she was in terrible shape when the Rover found her. In my playthrough, I chose to trust her as she guided us through, but only as someone who knows the area, and nothing more. I have seen the scenes of the other choices where the Rover tries to find their own way, which showed more interesting interactions between the two, and I believe it helped showcase that tense and fragile relationship we have with Phrolova as the Rover in this quest. Honestly, I kinda wish I made those choices instead, since it seemed more amusing than trusting her from the get-go. Learning the implications of what Thronidian influence does on people was a good point here as well. Now as a gamer, I'm not gonna lie and say that I enjoyed the blending in section of the story, where we had to pretend to be one of the acolytes. Gameplay wise, I personally found it a bit silly, but I understood what it was supposed to be in terms of storytelling. Or at least I feel I did. It was more showing of how the Order has been corrupted, and what some of the people's devotions have been used for, even if the acolytes and others who were down there were there of their own choice. It also showed the cost of what devotion could be for the acolytes of the Order, and what sacrifices they've made in order to work towards preventing the Dark Tide, as we later learned was the goal of Fenrico in working with Phrolova and the Fractsidus. Overall, I feel like it helped expand the world, re-establish the Fractsidus as our main enemies, and showed why the Rover has fought and continues to fight against the Thronidians. Now, I'll go into my thoughts about Phrolova, and the final confrontation after Fenrico was defeated and redeemed. Now let me preface this that I enjoyed the story and learning about Phrolova. It was well done, and I look forward to us in the future for the other members of the Fractsidus, and maybe any future story involving Phrolova. I liked the character, and I felt sympathy for her objective and backstory. Even so, I agree with the Rover that Phrolova is wrong. I'm going to assume that you already played through the story, and so I won't go too much into explaining anything, since I assume you understand what happened in regards to Phrolova's backstory, her awakening, and what she did since the meteor hit her village. Her past, and what she's gone through is tragic, which makes it all the more painful knowing that the Rover, and by extension us the player, have seemingly abandoned her to her fate at the end. However, I still feel, even after listening to other viewpoints and arguments, that Rover was not wrong in what they said to her, nor how they chose to handle it by letting her do the talking, rather than trying to rebuke her or argue with her. She is too far gone in her goals and what she has done. Regardless of how others say how they could have handled it, she was in no position or mindset to listen. It's hard to not think about what could have been, but unfortunately what happened can't be taken away, further showing the cost of Rover choosing to wipe their memory. As the players, while we have a bigger picture than the characters, we still don't know what caused them to make that choice. A document in the Black Shore's Tethys Deep area in the Modulation Hall has some reflections of Rover with Shorekeeper before their memory wipe. It shows the toll that fighting the Lament for centuries has had on the Rover. We don't know what tragedy, problem, discovery, or whatever it was that led Rover to believe that they had to start over. Another thing that I've seen around, which I'm not sure if it can be proven true or false, is the idea that Rover has wiped their memory multiple times, and the most recent one was just another point of starting over. I won't try to prove it wrong since honestly, as far as I know, we don't know how the memory wipe works, nor do we know enough about Rover's past to even know if that's possible. All I will say is that I think it's wrong, purely from that document I mentioned in the modulation hall, and Shorekeeper's own history entries on her character. Both show that, while past Rover and present Rover may be different in knowledge in other ways, they've always had that same drive to protect and care for humanity as much as they could without sacrificing anyone. Overall, so far Wuthering Waves 2.5 patch has kept the upward climb in my opinion. They've shown a lot of improvement since the beginning, and I continue to look forward to the journey we're on, and what locations we'll see, and the stories we'll experience and remember. Okay, so I originally wrote that the 2.6 lifetime hasn't occurred yet, and then the banner change for Cantarella and Brant is on the horizon, but yeah, it looks like I recorded way too late because we're already on the week of the 2.6 update, and the banner with Brant and Cantarella is literally gonna be gone in like probably like 4 hours. I don't know how many hours because I don't have the game open, but it will be transitioning pretty soon as far as I can tell. I mentioned it just because I think, like I said in the intro, I might be uploading this just before or right after the 2.6 update comes out, so hopefully I get it in by then. If not, well, editor me will make a note and a joke about it right now on screen, I hope. Who knows. Anyways, as a TLDR, I will say that I enjoyed Phrolova's story and sympathize with her, but I disagree with what she has done and what her goal is with Rover. Things could have been different maybe, but that's not the reality we live in, and even then, Phrolova isn't completely gone. We'll see her again one day, that I'm sure of. Anyways, if you made it this far into the video, thank you for watching or listening. I know I've done that myself for a lot of these video essay style videos, so I hope it was entertaining or helped you understand another perspective at least. Thanks for watching, and I will see you around.